Order all your half-shell favorites for takeout or delivery. Visit www.halfshelloysterhouse.com to browse a familiar menu and place your delivery or takeout order in minutes. Same menu prices, just a $5 flat delivery fee every time at Half Shell Oyster House, located at 115 Lower Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi, 39232, or you can give us a call at 769-257-7586. And oh yeah, tell them Sonya sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonya, and welcome back to She Say Sports and our segment Legends of the Sipp. I can't believe it. We have both of our co-hosts today. Please welcome back Brian Wanky Adams, and the prodigal son, Rod Walker. I can't believe you're here. But I'm so glad y'all here because we have our first, I'm so excited, our first female Legends of the Sipp. I've been waiting, we've had 3 guests already. She's our 4th, and she was in our top 5. So please welcome Hall of Famer, Ole Miss Hall of Famer, 2-time WNBA champion, author, and she hails from Port Gibson, Mississippi, Miss Yolanda Moore. I almost called you Yolanda Adams. Hey, Yolanda, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
I am doing well. That is awesome. So, Yolanda, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought somebody said something.
No.
So, Yolanda, I always ask this question. I always want to know, I don't know if it's because I'm nosy or just curious, but when did your love for basketball begin for you?
Oh, in the 3rd grade.
Really?
Yeah, in 3rd grade. Harold Liggins, who was, at the time, he was the junior high school coach.
Mm-hmm.
And his daughter, of course, I was classmates with his daughter, Tori. But he was our, used to do the gym for us. And so he would let me and Tori dress out with the junior high basketball team. Now, we didn't get in the games. I mean, unless, there was absolutely no chance that we could go in the last 10 seconds and mess stuff up, then we would get in the game. But that was it. And we used to, and during that time, he used to, he had like a developmental league for the kids in elementary school. So every single Saturday we would go to Natchez, Mississippi, and we would play against, like, it wasn't for a championship or anything. It was just, we would play against the same 4 or 5 teams. I remember Holy Cross being one of those teams. And we just played, we had fun. I was terrible. I was terrible, but I loved it because I just loved running and jumping and just the competition. And I didn't understand the actual fundamentals of the game yet, but I loved just competing. So I guess when I was 3rd grade.
So because you said you loved it, you weren't that good at that time, but who inspired you, players, whether it was female or male, who did you try to emulate? Do you remember that?
I didn't have anybody to emulate, to be honest.
Wow,
I mean, around that time, I would go. Now, as I got older, like around 10 or 11 years old, I had older brothers who hadn't yet left home. And so I actually grew up in like this little small town called Patterson, Mississippi. And they had a concrete basketball court with the chain basketball nets and stuff. And when my mom would go to work, my brother would let me go. We'd go up to the playground.
Right.
And I would always want to play. By that time, I was like 5th or 6th grade. And I'm the only girl out there. It's all guys. And he would say, the only way you can play is you can't cry. So if you fall or you get hurt or something, you can't cry, or you're not coming back. I was like, okay, bet. So I would get out there and I would just be playing. Now, of course, they never gave me the ball, but I was tough. Right. And I would get rebounds and I would fight for a position and all that kind of stuff. I would get knocked down and knees skinned up and all that stuff, but I never cried. So he always let me come back. But I didn't have any one particular person that I looked up to, because there wasn't really anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't know Michael Jordan at that time.
Right.
Hey, Yolanda, when people think about girls basketball in Mississippi, a lot of times they think about the 90s with those Murrah teams, but can you just kind of tell people who don't remember those Port Gibson teams from the late 80s and early 90s and how good they were?
Gladly. Okay. Gladly. I don't know if anybody remembers the legendary Mason Denham. He was a basketball coach at Port Gibson High School up until he passed away, I think my sophomore year of high school. But our teams were always ranked. And when I say ranked, I'm not talking about ranked in the state, I'm talking about nationally. We were always ranked in the top 5, top 6. I think my freshman year, because at that time, the freshman was still considered junior high school. Now it's high school, but at that time it was still considered, junior high or middle school. So Coach Denham came and plucked me from the junior high team to go play with his high school team that had already won state championships. Like, they had a history of winning and competing. We had Stacy Truitt, who was the back-to-back player of the year. She was recruited by Kansas, all the Big 10, Big 12, SEC schools. We had so many great players who went to SWAC schools that could have gone to, high major Division I's. But I know from my tenure in high school, we won championships. My freshman year, we were ranked number 3 in the nation, and we were 43-0.
Wow.
My sophomore year, I ended up going to school in Indiana, and that was the only year that they didn't win a championship. I ain't saying it was because I was there. I'm, how sometimes you don't ever see Clark Kent and Superman in the room at the same time. I ain't saying that, but it just so happens that the year that I wasn't there, they didn't win a high school championship. And then when I came back my junior and senior year, we won championships. I'm just saying.
Right. I love it.
I'm just saying. So.
Well, I was gonna say, Coach Denham. Me going to Alcorn, and I heard about all those stories and stuff like that. When he passed away, I think you said it was his sophomore year, right?
Yeah.
How was the mood as far as the team, as far as the community, when y'all lost somebody on like that who guided y'all to 2 championships right at that time?
He had won a few championships before I got there. I won one with him my freshman year of high school when we went 43-0. Yeah. But that summer I had gone to Indiana, and when he died, I found out I wasn't in town. But I was very heartbroken because Coach Denham was a disciplinarian. By the time I was with him, he was in a wheelchair. He wasn't as mobile, but his words spoke so much volume, and he had the ability to transform you, and he couldn't move, like he was wheelchair bound, right? But just the things that he would say, he would challenge us. He challenged me to be more. He helped me to see how good I could be and how impactful I was, and how integral, how big of a part of the team I was. I didn't think so because I was a freshman on a team full of seniors, and I was a starter, so I didn't know. But for me, it was a huge loss just because he was able to help me grow up in a lot of ways, because I didn't have a dad. Well, I had one, but he wasn't there. So he kind of stepped into that role. But it was a great loss because not only did he mean so much to basketball, but he coached track as well. And we always won. We did really well. Our sports teams always did well. We always won championships, always district championships and things like that. So it was a great loss to the community because Coach Denham had done so much for so many athletes, young men and women in that space, in that time. So.
Hey, Yolanda, what was it like for you growing up in a small town? This is obviously before the internet and Twitter. So what was recruiting like for you? Like, how did they find a player like Yolanda Moore in Port Gibson, Mississippi? And, you know, just who all recruited you and all that?
Well, I mean, you know, when you good, they find you. And our teams were good. Our teams were nationally ranked. So of course they want to see, well, what's going on in Port Gibson that you got this small town team that's ranked in the top 5 in the nation. Yeah. Not in the state, but in the nation. Out of all the schools around the country, your New York high schools, Christ the King, the schools in, you know, in California, where they always produce national players of the year. We were competing, you know, nationally, ranked nationally with those schools. So I'm a firm believer of when your team does well, when you're good and your team does well, then you can't help but get noticed when the team does well. Now, if I had been the player that I was and our team wasn't doing well, I don't think that I would have been highly recruited, because outside of the state of Mississippi, because of course the state schools are going to keep up with what's going on in the state. But, you know, I was recruited by all the schools nationwide. Like I could have gone SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12. I could have gone anywhere. What
made you decide on Ole Miss?
Well, I knew some of the players. I played AAU basketball with some of the players that were already there. And at that time, Ole Miss was ranked nationally. They had won like the Elite 8. Women's basketball was just getting some television coverage. So I saw them play a couple times on TV. And I visited the campus. It wasn't too far away from home, so I could still, you know, if something happened, my mom was a single mom. And so if something happened and she needed to get to me, it was a car ride versus trying to get a plane ticket. And then it wasn't as close to home, so I could still get that away at college kind of feel. And it was, I mean, and it was Ole Miss. Ole Miss was considered, and still, in my opinion, considered the Harvard of the South. It was a good educational institution. It was considered prestigious. And so for me, it was just a win-win.
What did it mean to you? I guess, 12 years ago, you got inducted to the Hall of Fame. I mean, what did that mean to you as a player and as a person, I guess?
It was shocking, because when you play the game, at least back then when I played, we played for the pure love of the game. It wasn't to get accolades. It wasn't to get likes and all that stuff. Like, you didn't have to incentivize us going hard in practice. You didn't have to dangle a carrot in front of us for us to give 110% in a game. So to be recognized for your efforts, for doing something that you loved, when so many other great players had come through that institution, it meant a lot to me, because I love the game. Like I love the game because of who it helped me become as a woman, and who it helped me become as a, you know, just in my career and as a mom, and just the places that it took me, the opportunities it afforded me. I'm a firm believer that whatever you put into something is what you'll get out of it. And I put my everything into it. And so I was able to reap a lot of different kinds of harvests just because of basketball. And so to be recognized by your school as one of the greats to come through that school, it meant a lot.
That's awesome. Robert, were you about to say something, Brian?
No, go ahead.
You know, Yolanda, we grew up in an era where most female basketball players, when they finished college, they had to go abroad. And as you know, the WNBA was started in 1996. How was it for you when you found out that you possibly could play basketball at home, where your family and friends could come and support you and not be far away from home?
Oh, of course, it was huge, you know, for me, especially because I thought my career was over. So I had a baby my freshman year of college, and had some knee injuries. I had 3 knee surgeries my freshman, junior, and senior at the end of my senior year. And then I got pregnant again at the end of my senior year. So I thought that my only way of still being a part of the game was to be in broadcasting, because I was a broadcast major, and I was going to be Robin Roberts Jr. You know, she was a Mississippi girl. She was on ESPN. I watched Sports Center faithfully, 6, 10, midnight, whenever it was on. So that was my, you know, that was my next. I won't say plan B, but that was my next. And then when they made the announcement that there was going to be a WNBA, I was like, hold up, you know. Sports Center ain't going nowhere. These degrees ain't going nowhere. I have a very small window of opportunity to take advantage of this. So I'm going to go for it. And I wasn't drafted or anything. I had to work my butt off and go to a tryout and beat out over 200 women for just, you know, there were 4 spots and I started out as a practice player. So to me, I was like, look, if it's going to be a WNBA, I'm going to be a part of it. That was just my personal conviction.
And it's amazing. You started out as a practice player, but you went on to become a 2-time WNBA champion with the Houston Comets. I mean, most players, you know, like you said, most players don't even probably get a ring. How did that feel for you? Was that even a dream of yours? Did you even dream that you would even get to that pinnacle of sports, becoming a champion?
Well, of course, no, because I didn't know that the WNBA was coming. I had set my sights on going overseas.
That's true.
And I had a contract to go overseas, but then, you know, I got pregnant at the end of my senior year. So I thought, okay, basketball is really over now. But to me, just making the team was enough because I was told that I couldn't. I was told by the coach who, you know, Van Chancellor was the coach of the Comets. He was my college coach. And he told me, don't even come to the tryout. He told me, you got a snowball chance in hell of making my team because you're not tall enough. Now I'm a 6-foot center, right? Like, but I don't have sense enough to know that. I mean, what does that mean to me? Because I've always played with heart. So height never mattered to me. And of course, you know, I had just had a baby. Like my daughter at the time, when the tryouts were May 11th, 1997, I had Ashley January 11th, 1997. And I was still rehabbing. So, you know, on the outside looking in, I could see him feeling like, okay, girl, you're not going to be able to, you know, get back in shape, rehab, and be ready to compete for a professional, you know, to be a part of a professional team. But I think the mistake he made was actually telling me I couldn't because
that fueled you.
Yeah. And I knew the work that I was putting in. Like I was going to Tad Smith Coliseum and at night working out by myself or, you know, calling football players and track, you know, y'all come over, let's run pickup. I'm in the gym 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the track running. I'm in the weight room, baby in hand, you know, rehabbing my knee, asking football players to watch her while I do my rehab. Like I put in too much work to let somebody tell me I wasn't good enough. Now, if I had gone down there and gave it my all and didn't make it, I would have been okay with that. But I wasn't going to let somebody steal my dream from me. And we do that so often. We'll look at a person's circumstance and where they are and say, oh, well, you don't have what it takes. We have no idea what's on the inside of them. Right. So for me, just making it, even I was a practice player, y'all, meaning my salary was like $6,000 or something like that for the year. And then during the season, Wanda Guyton got hurt and I was moved up to the regular roster because in his words, I know I got somebody that'll come in and rebound. I know somebody that I could bring, you know, and he was like, I'm moving you up. So now my salary didn't increase all that much. I think it went to 10,000 or something like that. But you couldn't tell me I ain't have a super max contract at that time.
Right.
Yolanda, what was it like playing with just, you know, Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson and Cynthia Cooper, just being on the squad with those ladies?
I would tell you it was an eye opener on how to be a professional, because with the exception of Tina, you know, Cynthia was 34 when she came in the league and I was 22. She had already been overseas. She had already won multiple MVP, Italian League MVPs and championships. So to see her come in and be the first one in the gym and the last one to leave, she would beat us in the sprints. Just her work ethic was insane. Their approach to the game, their ability to leave whatever personal issues aside and for a common goal, when you didn't really see it at that level. Like I knew that I was cut like that, but I had never seen other players that were cut like that. I was always told that, you know, you it's just practice. You taking it too serious. Every moment I stepped on the court, practice or whatever, it was game time. Right. And to see other players on that level, and to be able to and to have to stretch, it was a stretch because you had to bring your A game every single day. it was a great experience. It was just a great experience.
Right. I was gonna say too, like y'all won those championships fresh off of the Houston Rockets going back to back. So the city was insane.
Oh my God.
As far as, you know, you finish you all season, then you go to the NBA season. But man, Houston had to be one of the hottest basketball towns in America at that time.
Listen,
Just what was the buzz like?
I thought I was gonna retire in Houston. That's how big it was. Like,
Wow.
that was my first time living in Houston. But I will say this, even before we won, when we got there, the city embraced us. We couldn't go anywhere, and they treated us like we were the Rockets. Even the Rockets organization, they rolled out the red carpet. I mean, they gave us everything that the men had, they gave us. It was no, you know, like line of demarcation. It was a first-class experience, and the city of Houston embraced us. It was like, for that time during the summer, it was ours. They didn't say, oh, when is the NBA season? It's like, it wasn't like that. It was like when it was WNBA time in the city of Houston, when it was our time, and that's all that mattered. And then when it was the time for the NBA season to roll around, that's what the focus was. So, man, the city of Houston was like the best. It was like watching, it was like what South Carolina women's team is now.
Okay.
It's like that. Like, they 1000% embraced us. It was, you couldn't go to the bookstore, the gas station, anywhere. It was Houston Comets, and they recognized everybody, even if you weren't one of the big three. Like, everybody got love.
Wow.
That's awesome. So which one was the sweetest for you? The first ring or the second ring?
The second one, because I only averaged a minute a game the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second year I played more. I averaged like 17 minutes a game. So I felt like I had more contribution. And as a player, you know, when you're a competitor, I don't know about other people, but for me as a competitor, it's not just enough to be there. You know, it's not just enough to say, oh, I'm on the squad. Oh, I'm, you know, at least I got a ring. I actually contributed. You know, I got to play in playoff games. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that second championship meant more to me than the first one.
That's awesome.
Hey, Yolanda, what does it mean to you when you think about, you know, the late Lucia Harris, who passed away back in, you know, a couple of months ago? Like, yeah, February, yeah. I mean, she didn't get that opportunity that you got, but I mean, just how much do you appreciate, you know, people like her who, you know, laid the foundation for what you were able to accomplish?
Man, I watched that documentary, and we knew the story of her, right? Like, you heard about it, but we never saw footage.
Yeah.
You know, we never saw that.
Right.
We just heard about it. And to see how dominant she was, she literally changed the game.
Right.
She literally changed, like, they had no answer for her. Like, no team had no answer for her. And then to think that she did it at a time where there was segregation, where, you know, Blacks, not just Black women, but Black people in general were seen as less than. But even to be a Black woman in sport, you know, she had to work for that. But to see her attitude about it, she embraced it, and she represented well. But when I saw the footage of her, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had seen that, I probably would have went to Delta State.
Right.
That's,
you know, like, if I had seen it, but we didn't see it. We only heard about it.
Right.
So just, I mean, you saw the pictures of her, and she did do some interviews before she left. But man, it's a shame that growing up in Mississippi and being a Black woman, a Black female basketball player from Mississippi, that we didn't know her story sooner. We didn't get to talk to her. We didn't get tours. We should have been touring Delta State. You know what I'm saying? Like, she should have been at every high school. She should have been acknowledged at every state tournament. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a shame that the world is just now getting to know who she is. But I'm so in awe of her and what she was able to accomplish and who she was and what she meant to sport. I just hate that it took her dying for us to really know and appreciate what she meant to the women's game.
Right.
And actually, Rod, he did a story. He actually interviewed her a few years ago, Rod.
I think it was 2019, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Really?
He interviewed her, and he actually gave me the opportunity to do it as well last year. And I dropped the ball on that, and I'm so angry about it because now she's gone.
Right.
And she was, like you say, a lot of people's head would have turned possibly to Delta State had they known about her, because a lot of people did
Right.
not know about her. And her story is amazing. She was actually drafted to the NBA.
I mean, like, who does that? Like, legit drafted, not a gimmick,
No,
not a gimmick, but legit, they came to her. Not an
legit.
agent reaching out for a publicity stunt, but they legit came to her.
Yep.
That means she was better than me. Hell, I ain't get drafted.
Hey, Brian, they had 7 rounds back then, though.
Right.
So you probably would have got a shot, man.
Right. So after your playing career, you transition into coaching, and we always talk about, man, it's so different now because we come from that era of you know, things get tough. You got to stick it out, things of that nature. You know, I look at this transfer portal and things of that nature. If you transferred when we was in school, that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like there was a mark on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you transferred.
Yep.
You know, I followed your career, you know, as far as coaching, and, you know, when you was at Southeast Louisiana, and, you know, I think was it New Orleans Eunice? Was it Eunice before
Eunice,
that?
Louisiana, LSU
Yeah.
unit. Yep.
You know, but I just saw your progress from, you know, where you started, and then you ended up Division I. What changed between when you was playing and when you was coaching? Like, you know, just some of the things that you saw as far as the kids. You can't
Let me
give too
keep it
much tough
PG.
love. Yeah, you can't give a lot of tough love now, like what we get.
What they call what we call tough love, they call bullying and abuse.
Right. Yeah.
And what they call bullying and abuse is you telling a kid, you're not as good as you think you are.
Right.
Like, you being straight up honest with a kid. I always said, like, if I had coached right after playing in the 90s, early 2000s, I probably would have been a Hall of Fame coach.
Right.
Because you could actually coach kids.
Right.
You didn't have to give into the pressures of, oh, you tell a child no, now they're gonna go and say that you misused them, you bullied them. No, all I did was say no.
Right.
That's all I did was tell you no. All I did was be honest with you and say, I know you think you're a shooter, but ma'am, you're not.
Right.
But you're a great rebounder. I know rebounders or defenders, they don't get all the pub, the ones who scored. That's not your game.
Right.
So now we got parents, oh, they got it out for my child.
Right.
Or, you know, all of this stuff. And I know some kids, some coaches do take it overboard. I myself have gone overboard, which is why I left coaching. When I saw myself reaching that point, I said, okay, it's time for me to go. Because I did not want to be, and I saw that growing up. I saw that playing where a coach could demoralize a player just by the words, because of everybody, you can't coach everybody the same. And like for me, I was the kind of player, it didn't matter what you said to me. I'm not even playing for you. So what you say to me don't even matter.
Right.
So nothing, you couldn't break me down, because I'm not even out here for you, sir.
Right.
So
Thank you.
call me what you want. I'm playing for me. Tell me I'm not, I'm not good. All I'm gonna do is show you wrong. Because if I wasn't good, I wouldn't be here. But now it's different. And I think parenting has lightened up.
Yeah.
Because we give our kids the okay to quit instead of when you make a commitment to something, because I ain't had nothing to go back to. Exactly. Like it was it wasn't anything to go back to. So it was either, you do that or you go to the army. Ain't nobody trying to I mean, so I just think that the space of parenting, and we've all made those mistakes. Those of us who grew up in that time, we try to make it a little lighter for our kids. But I
Right.
think sometimes we take away the struggle. We take away too much of the struggle
Yes.
because the struggle and overcoming the obstacles are what made us who we are. But we want to not make it so hard. We want our kids to not have it so hard. They need to have it hard. Maybe not as hard as us, but they need some struggle because struggle builds character. And I think now we've made it so easy because we don't want, and a lot of it has to do with social media, because no school wants to get a bad rep. So we're gonna bend to the demands of these kids, and we're gonna make it easy for them to leave situations where if they would have just put a little bit more effort into it, if they would have just shown up, if they would have just, followed instruction or just had some self accountability or applied themselves a little more, they probably wouldn't even be in the transfer portal. Right. Or if they had a little bit more self-awareness and was really honest about who they were and their talent level, they wouldn't have signed where they signed to begin with. Because you trying to go D1 when you low major D2 at best.
Right.
Baby, you better teach.
You're right.
I mean, but the parents and the folks want to say, oh, my kid D1. No, they not. Or they're Power 5. No, ma'am, sir. No, they're not. The demands and the expectations are a little bit more when you get to that level. I have a really good friend of mine. She has a daughter. She's 9th grade. Girl is good. Like she is a kid that will be in the WNBA. And her mom said, well, she wants to play at South Carolina. I said, let me tell you this. If she wants to play at South Carolina, she's going to need to leave her feelings in Michigan. Because you go there because you want to be a professional.
Right.
Dawn Staley coaches professionals. So if that ain't you, don't go there.
Right.
So you got to know who you are. You parents got to be honest about who their kid is. If you know your kid can't handle being told the truth, don't send them somewhere where they're going to be told the truth.
That's
right.
true.
If you know they can't handle the pressure of having to perform and bring their A game day in and day out, stay away from Power 5.
But you know what, Yolanda, I love what you're saying. You know the difference between these kids and when we were growing up. Remember when we used to be just on the recess playing and they had kickball. People chose. It was like, and if you weren't good enough, you didn't go run to your mama. You knew, well, I either got to work on being a better kicker or this is not my game.
Exactly.
But now they're getting trophies for being average. And I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody get a ribbon. Everybody get a certificate.
I cannot stand
Everybody get what?
The 6th place, I seen a 6th place trophy taller than Shaq.
I didn't even know they went that far.
Hey, everybody
Wanky is lying.
Hey, man, that trophy was taller than Shaq, man. I couldn't believe the 6th place.
They're giving these kids rings and everything now too. Like I've seen little kids with championship rings from some little league basketball tournament.
My grandson has about four or five rings, and he's what, 7, rather than be 8, and he plays football, but they've been winning championships, so they get rings. On the one hand, it's okay because you want them to develop that mindset, or you want them to set the standard. Like, okay, I want to, if I'm gonna do this, I want to do it at that level. But then at the same time, you kind of can take the fun out of it because the other kids are like, dang, what if we don't get a ring? Right. We're used to winning and we don't get it. Mm-hmm. Now, are we failures? Are we not good enough? So there has to be a balance. Now, when I was that age and playing AAU or running track, it was 3 ribbons: red, blue, and yellow. Yeah. Red was like, blue was for first place, red was for second place, and yellow was for third place. I don't know what nobody else got beyond. I don't even think they had no colors after that.
No. Hey, look, one of the greatest quotes ever in a movie, Karate Kid, when the dude said, hey, second place is no place.
Exactly. Exactly.
And to your point, yeah, you don't want them to think that they're not, but that's when the parents come in and talk to them and be like, I'm almost 6 feet. I love sports, but I cannot play. I'm a singer. I talk. I know my gifts. My sister's 5'5" and can play against any dude, anytime, anywhere. That was not my gift, but I never, cried and was like, well, they would let me rebound, but that was it. But I never went home and was like, my mom was like, well, Sonia, I mean, that's not what you do. And
Right.
she still built me up. She said, you sing, you like to act. She would tell me my attributes, what I like to do. So that's where
Absolutely.
the parents come in now. Everybody can't be on a sports team. I'm sorry.
I just think a lot of times parents are living through their kids. They have their own
There you
unfulfilled
go.
dreams. And so they put those pressures on their kids. And for me, I just want mine to compete. If you're going to do it, just compete. I don't care if you win or lose. I just want you to do your best. But now if you're going to be out there, don't just be out there. Like, we ain't got time to waste for you just to be out there to be looking cute, or just for you to, just give your best. And if your best is 4th place, then I'm cool with that.
Right. If it's your best.
If it's your best. Now, if it's your best, don't get 4th place because you didn't try. Because you didn't feel like it. But if you gave it your all and 6th place is the best, hey, let's go celebrate you doing your best, because you want them to take doing their best away from it. That's the lesson. Do my best. But now you may go into, like singing or whatever, and you may be America's Idol, whatever that stuff is. I can't sing. I can't carry a tune in a bucket. So I'm not going to get out there. But now, it's about parents not putting these unrealistic expectations and putting their unfulfilled dreams onto their kids.
There you go.
Man,
I love it.
I see it all the time with this just social media AAU stuff, man. I had a guy, he called me one time, man, me and my, man, we chasing this Power 5, man. We got to get this 4-5 star. I'm like, bro, he really ain't that good, man. You know, like I say, these parents chase it more than the kids. I think sometimes, a lot of times, these kids really want to go low D1 or to an HBCU, but it's the parents that override everything. And then in the end, they try to crawl back to the low D1s and the HBCUs as a rebound. And those coaches gotta stop that. They gotta stop doing it.
I agree. And because you gotta understand, it's levels to everything. If you want to go to college and play basketball and still have a social life, go to an HBCU. Go to a low major D1 school, like a Southland, like a Southeastern where I was. You can still have a life. But if you're trying to do that and go play for Don Staley, or go to Ole Miss, or go to Stanford, or something gonna have to give. I don't remember being at home for Christmas more than 2 days when I was a student athlete. I don't ever remember having a Thanksgiving. We were always at a Thanksgiving tournament somewhere. I was never home for Thanksgiving. And because we went into the NCAA tournament, we didn't get no spring break.
It's true.
So if those things are important to you, you need to evaluate. Like I tell kids all the time, you need to be honest with yourself and real about what you want your college experience to be. And if you really want basketball to be a part of it, or if you really want to get the college social life experience, then you might need to say, you know what? I did basketball in school. It's not for me in college. I want to go to the fraternity parties. I want to go to the, to all that stuff. You're going to have to pick one.
That's true.
But you got to be honest about that.
Right.
That's true. So we're gonna switch gears. Yolanda, you put your degree to use when you became a post radio analyst for the Memphis Grizzlies in the mid-2000s. How did it feel being on the other side of the court analyzing other players? How was that for you?
Let me say this. So I did television for Fox Sports South, and I got to cover SEC women's basketball. I love that. I liked being on that side because, number one, I've been on the other side. So I know the emotions that athletes are going through, and the players. It used to make me want to come out of my skin when reporters would ask the most asinine questions of a player right after they missed the winning shot, or something like, how did you feel when the shot didn't go? How you think they felt? Like, ask something else. Like, that's the best you got? Like,
we're not gonna be bashing reporters on here now.
Listen, it just is what it is. Right. A lot of them have gotten better because we have a lot of more former athletes who are in that space. So they understand the mindset and the emotions in the moment and know how to cultivate that kind of conversation and get a good response without dehumanizing an athlete or
Right.
making
No, you're
them
right.
look a certain way. And so I loved that aspect of it. I did not care for at the time having to cover NBA because I didn't like their attitudes at the time. You know, we out here, you just had 1,000 points. You know, everybody out here want to talk to you. Why are you still in there? I'm not finna sit out here and wait no hour. I gotta go home. Like, I'm not waiting an hour to talk to you and begging and all that. Like, you already know that. Come on. Like, but aside from that part of it, when I did the radio for the Memphis Grizzlies, I loved it. But I just didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
And I can agree with, I can understand what you mean. Yeah.
I always tell people when it comes to like covering sports, like high school sports is always my favorite, just because those high school kids, they'll run up to you after the game. They want you to interview them.
Yep.
Those NBA players are doing the exact opposite. You know, they'll shower and get their treatment, and you're sitting there an hour after the game just waiting on the guy to come out. So
right.
It's
that's
definitely a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah. So Yolanda, in 2019, you wrote your book, You Will Win If You Don't Quit, Developing the Heart of a Champion. Tell us a little bit about your book and what was the inspiration behind that?
Well, I actually wrote that book in 2012 and I just kind of updated and re-released it. And it really was for high school and college student athletes to help them, to teach them just some practical tools, give them some strategies on how to use basketball to overcome life challenges and to share a story of, you know, you're not the only person who's struggling. And it was really just that, to just teach them how to use the game of basketball to overcome life challenges, and just to share my own story of so many times, so many opportunities I had to quit. When I got pregnant my freshman year, I could have quit. When I had my first knee injury, I could have quit. I could have quit school. I could have quit basketball. You know, my junior year, I had another, tore my meniscus 3 times and had to have surgery. Only a true competitor or a person with some type of purpose would continue through that. And oftentimes, and when I go and speak, I hear kids all the time who have gone through injuries, who've had an ACL injury. Well, why didn't you quit? I ain't had no other options. Like, I couldn't quit. Like, my mom, she didn't have money. She couldn't write a check. There was no transfer portal. You know, like you said, Wanky, back in the day, it was a mark on you if you transferred. But then if another coach took you in, or if you left the coach's program, it was a mark on both of them. You know, that's just not something that happened. So it's how do you push through? How do you develop the mindset to push through? How do you focus on where it is you want to be and not just get stuck in the moment of, dang, I'm injured again, or dang, I messed up again, or it's so hard to get back out on the court. I'm not the player who I was, that I used to be. How do you constantly fall and find the will and the strength and the mind to get back up? You do it because you have to.
That's right.
You do it because you have to. We all fall down. Not one of us living is going to escape life without falling at some point. The difference between those who are considered great and those who are considered average is those who are considered great, we find a way to get back up.
That's right.
And those who are average, they just stay stuck in the moment. They use life happening as an excuse to not move forward. And then I wanted to use that book as, a way to take the excuses off the table. Like, if you ain't pregnant and having 3 knee injuries, and all you got to do is get up and go to class and go to practice,
what's your excuse?
What's your excuse?
Right.
Like, what's your excuse?
It's true. And just think, had you allowed you having a baby, allowed you being from a small town, allowed you, the coach telling you weren't going to make it, just think, had you allowed all of that to happen, we probably wouldn't even be talking to you today.
Girl, we would not be talking to me today. There ain't no probably in it. We would not.
Amazing. I'm so glad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got to ask you this one question. I feel like we're probably about to wrap it up, but give me your starting 5 women's basketball players from Mississippi.
Ooh, you the first one.
All time.
Look, you the first one we didn't ask this question.
Okay, me?
All time. Okay.
All the time.
Me.
Okay.
Stacy Truitt.
Are you going all
You
Fort
mean
Gibson
like-
High?
You mean ever?
Ever?
Yeah.
Living or dead?
Living or dead?
You can't, I mean, it's so many great. Okay, I gotta give Miss Lucia Harris. You gotta put her on there.
Okay.
Um,
You got 2 more spots.
dang, I ain't got no point guard. I ain't got no. Oh,
Pound for pound.
That's a tough one. I gotta put Lucy Harris, Arminty Price.
One more spot.
Dang. Peggy or Jennifer. Either one. Pick one.
Okay.
Pick one.
Let's give her an alternate. So
Yeah, we'll bring one of them off the bench. That's fine. That works.
okay.
Okay. Now I don't know who's gonna bring the ball up the court. Probably Arminty.
Yeah, she can handle it.
Yeah, probably Arminty gonna bring the ball up the court.
I love it. I love it. So right before we let you go, I did want to ask, do you have any more books on the horizon?
Actually, I do have a book coming out. It's called Leverage. Make your next move your best move. And it's a guide for athletes and high achievers in other industries that are in life and career transition.
Okay, awesome.
So it's how to use your experience and your expertise to transition into the next phase of your career.
Okay, and we're gonna get all that information at the end, but before we let you go, we play this game called You Can Get With This or You Can Get With That. And what that is, it's a way for the listeners and us to get to know the guests better. I'll ask you a few questions and you choose the one that best fits you. No answer is wrong. So
cool.
Do you prefer owing money or owing a favor?
Owing a favor?
Okay.
Yeah, that was the easy one. That's saying.
I love asking that. So do you prefer attending a party or hosting a party?
Attending, because I can leave when I want to.
So if you hosting, you got to stay the whole time.
You got to be there from beginning and end. Yep, attending.
Do you prefer cleaning as you cook or clean at the end?
Yes, cleaning as I cook.
That's how I do. I hate cleaning at the end. You prefer a night out or a night in?
In.
Okay. Are you a planner? I think you are a planner. Are you a planner or do you prefer just winging it?
I'm a planner, but I leave room to wing it when I need to.
Right. Yeah, I got you. This is kind of, I already know. Well, I'm trying to see how I can ask this. Do you, and it's weird saying prefer, but do you prefer regret or doubt? That's odd saying that.
Doubt, because I can move through the doubt. I struggle with regret. Like I struggle. Yeah, I can move through the doubt. It's the regret I can't deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why I try to do everything I want to do so I don't have no regrets.
Bam, exactly. So this is hard. Could you say 100 strangers or one loved one?
One loved one.
Absolutely. Your favorite actor, Morris Chestnut or Boris Kodjoe?
Morris Chestnut.
What's your favorite movie?
She was offended by that one.
Did you see? I mean, mad. Did you?
I'm sorry.
She was like, Morris Chestnut. What?
I was actually trying to think of what movies Boris Kodjoe was in besides
Love and
Brown
Basketball.
Sugar.
He was in what?
And Love and Basketball and Brown Sugar.
Brown Sugar, Love and Basketball. He's more like he was in Soul Food, the series.
Yeah, see, that don't count for me.
And he's more, he's on Station 19, all of that. Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Look, I know, I watch it every Thursday. It's a spinoff from Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, no.
You prefer coaching or broadcasting?
Broadcasting. Wait, coaching basketball or broadcasting? Yes, broadcasting.
Yeah, broadcasting, yeah, coaching basketball.
Yeah.
Last but not least, who was your favorite in the WNBA, especially when it first started in '96? And you played with these people, Cheryl Swoop or Lisa Leslie? Or played against?
My favorite, if I had to pick out of those two, my favorite is Cheryl. But
Okay.
my favorite that you didn't mention was Kim Parat.
Yeah.
Like, she's my favorite.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, Yolanda, it has been a pleasure. Oh, this was so fun. Thank you so much for
It
joining us
was
today.
fun.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media, as well as tell us how we can get your books.
Well, if they follow me on social media at I am Yolanda Moore on all platforms. My other account was hacked, so I had to change it, and that was the best I could come up with.
Okay.
So it's I am Yolanda Moore on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if they're doing business.
Okay.
And all the information for my book will be on there. I haven't gotten a launch date or anything yet, but it is in the works. I just got my book cover and stuff approved, so it's in the works. But they can follow me there to kind of find out information.
Okay. And Wanky.
Hey, when somebody hack you, they ask me for $1 million. I do that with you. So
Right. Look, they was asking, like they was saying, "Oh, I'm giving away $1,000 or something like that." Or I had so many people like, "Yolanda, I know this ain't you." I was like, "Y'all should have just hacked somebody better than me, because ain't nobody gonna think I'm around here giving away no $1,000 or asking people for money."
Oh my gosh. Wanky, tell the listeners how they can follow you for more information with Driven Basketball Academy.
on IG, Driven Elite Basketball Academy. I can be reached there.
That was easy.
I know.
Yeah.
What about Twitter? What about your Twitter? No? Your Twitter? No?
Oh, on Twitter it's D Elite. What is it? D Elite B-Ball on Twitter. Yeah.
Elite Ball.
Yeah.
And Rod, tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media, as well as read your articles.
Twitter is Rod Walker Nola, just all one word. And my stories can be found on NOLA.com.
NOLA.com. And guys, you can follow me at She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, at She Say 23 on Twitter, and please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, until next time, this is Sonia, Wanky, and Rod.
And the pride of Port Gibson.
Yeah.
And I
Let me get my pageant wave.
Okay. We will see you guys next time, and thanks for listening.
All
All
right,
right.
see.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. Thank
so
you.
much. I appreciate it.